Meanwhile, I think the Democrats are running on a better issue that they need to tout more, which also has a biological aspect to it that conservatives don't seem to understand, and that's abortion. So we're going to look a little bit at that because there was just a big case in Texas recently, and we're going to look. This is the readout with Joy Reid, and they looked at this because this was, and this is just a microcosm of everything that's going on. But
the Texas Supreme Court heard arguments today on whether the state's abortion bans hurt women with complicated pregnancies. It's part of an ongoing lawsuit filed by a group of Texas women who say they were denied abortions despite grave risks to their own lives or to their fetuses. A lawyer for the Center for Reproductive Rights, which filed the suit on behalf of the women and two doctors, said the bans have left doctors confused about what care they can provide.
The abortion bans as they exist today subject physicians like my clients to the most extreme penalties imaginable: life in prison and loss of their medical license. And while there is technically a medical exception to the bans, no one knows what it means, and the state won't tell us.
In August, a lower court judge temporarily exempted women with medically complicated pregnancies from the state's abortion bans. Texas attorney.
The problem is, though, is they say that because they've got two issues. One is they don't want to address the big issue in the room, which is why are we taking away this right in the first place? Why are you butting into what somebody else is doing with their doctor? Right. It's not, these women getting abortions, it's not a risk to other people. It just isn't. And so there's that. But furthermore, now you've got thousands of cases, right, in the United States since the ban, right, that Samuel Alito wrote and the justices, voted on. Thousands of women going through or dying or coming near death or having severe medical problems, or they have to be on the verge of death before the doctor can perform an abortion, right? And then if these women want to have children in the future, a lot of times that's not possible because they just went through this really physically traumatic experience. Now they're infertile.
Right.
So you're actually, if it's we're doing it to save children thing, it's like, well, you've just denied a bunch of potential children the right to life because mommy can't get pregnant anymore because she had to deal with your fucking abortion ban. The big issue here is for the doctors is we can sit there and say, well, in certain situations, but what does that fucking mean? So if I perform the procedure and I'm the doctor, right, I can still be sued because it's not clear. So I have to check with my lawyer before I can do my job. I mean, it's just fucked up. We'll watch a little bit more of this, but this is, women are going to come out and vote for this, and fucking men, you should come out and vote for it too. That we should make abortion legal again. I mean, this is such a crock of shit.
Attorney General Ken Paxton immediately appealed that decision. Today, a prosecutor for the state argued that 20 women and two doctors suing the state lacked the ability to seek clarity since it would only apply to hypothetical scenarios. But the attorney for the women said the effects of the Texas ban are already quite clear, citing the situation faced by the lead plaintiff, Amanda Zarowski.
Let's see.
This weird new tool is quickly becoming the most popular Christmas gift of 2023. It twists it.
All right, hang on. 3, 2, 1.
We are not talking about hypothetical harms. These are real patients, many of whom are sitting in the courtroom today. And for example, Ms. Zarowski became septic while waiting to be sick enough to receive abortion care, and she had multiple surgeries to reconstruct her uterus, 3 days in the ICU, and now her fertility is compromised.
I mean, that's just, and this is happening every day now in this country since the Supreme Court overthrew Roe v. Wade. And this is just the medical shit. This has nothing to do with the fact that it's denying what's basically a civil right, which should be a civil right. The one thing that go ahead.
Quite frankly, I don't see how anybody could not see it as a civil rights issue, how are civil rights not being in violation for people to tell us what we are allowed and not allowed to do literally with our bodies?
Right. Yeah, I don't know how else you spin it. I mean, it's a 14th Amendment right. You know.
Well, the conservatives that wanted to go away want to say, but what about the rights of the baby? That is not a citizen, and it does not have any rights until it is born. It doesn't have any rights.
Right.
It doesn't have rights yet.
Well, and I've even just skipped past that argument about when is it a person shit, because I mean, it's philosophical. I would go into the more practical point of it is this is you have two people, right? At minimum, the mother and the fetus. Okay, let's say they're both people. I grant that, right? One person to survive is dependent on the body of the other person. You're telling me that in that scenario, the person whose body is required to take care of that other person doesn't have a right to say, I don't want to do that?
Right.
I mean, honestly, if I woke up in the hospital and Lacey and I were plugged into each other and they said, well, you guys have to stay plugged into each other for 9 months or Lacey's going to die. Now, whether or not I choose to do that, I should have that choice. And vice versa. And if you add to that, because this is a fact, it's pregnancy and childbirth, that's going to physically alter your body permanently.
Right. And if a woman's going to go through all of that, who the hell is anybody else to tell her she should or should not be able to,
Well, you have a fundamental right just about in anywhere else in medicine, right? I don't have to listen to my doctor. I can check myself out of the hospital, and if I want to die of cancer on the street, nobody can stop me. Right? They can't force me to do anything, but it's one of those things where it's like, for some reason, this is an issue. But here was the attorney for the defense for the state trying to make this argument that makes no fucking sense, just to show you how back-assward their thinking is.
Okay.
Your position is that in order to seek the kind of clarity that these plaintiffs are seeking, you have to have a woman who is pregnant, who has some health condition that she believes places her life at risk or impairment to a major bodily function, but her doctor says, I don't think it does, and she has to then sue the doctor and maybe the attorney general at that point, and then she would have standing.
I don't know if that would be the only circumstance, but you would at least then know that the law is the problem and not the doctor refusing to perform an abortion.
Isn't that fucking nuts? I mean, that's the whole case. They're trying to set the rules up to such a way that there's no way you can win. It's the ultimate heads I win, tails you lose scenario, right? You need to be close to death, Lacey, but your doctor has to disagree with you. Then you have to sue him. Now, this whole time you're not getting treatment because you're suing your doctor, and you can't go get treatment from another doctor.
And yet I'm so sick, but we're going to assume I'm this sick and my illness can pause long enough for me to go through an entire lawsuit with a doctor and whatever.
Which could take 2 years. By then,
which is only valid if you're incubating an elephant or something.
Well, you'd probably be dead before you even got to court. You'd probably be dead before the fucking judge signed the first motion. Because you're talking about on the verge of death. And the doctor has to disagree, which really fucks it. Because now, let's say you're on the verge of death, your doctor agrees, but they won't perform the procedure because it's not clear what on the verge of death means in the law. And he could lose his license and go to prison, or she could lose her license and go to prison, right? So if your doctor agrees with you, you have no right to sue. Even though your doctor agrees with you that we should do this. So you still don't have the right to have it done or to sue. So she set the rules up that it can't, there's just no way. But that's how they have to play this game, because they can't make the argument on the merits. Meanwhile, like I said, they're trying to spin the whole transgender thing. Let's ban the 50 transgender women who want to play sports. But let's not help the thousands and thousands of women that are going through medical problems today as we speak.
Yeah, I mean that's literally crazy and doesn't make any sense, honestly.
No, I know. It drives me fucking insane, but that's what it is. It's all this has come down to. It's a big fight over should women be treated equally to men. And go ahead.
I know, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. Well,
that's all.
And just to make the cold-blooded financial assessment of that, I'm going to tell you something right now, and this is just a fact. It's been proven many, many times. The one thing that really propulses society, that drastically improves economy, quality of life, everything, you know what it is? Equality of women.
Gee, imagine that.
Who would have thought?
Society is better when women are happy.
But yeah, society is better when you're not suppressing half the population.
Right.
Who would have fucking guessed that was a problem?
Oh my god.
I know, it's fucking insane. Oh. But we took some time with this. Let's skip.